Wow, I actually timed that quite well. Hi there, and welcome back to the FFS podcast. I'm your host, Praddy, once again, and this is episode number 2 of the Women's Euro 2022 tournament reaction and review. So, we did episode number 0, which was our preview episode at least a few weeks ago. We did the group stage roundup episode a few days ago, and now here we are talking about the quarterfinals. We're like more than halfway through the tournament. We're just left with the two most important stages: the semifinals and the finals. The group stage is done, and the quarterfinals are done, and we're here to talk about the quarterfinals. And oh, is that okay? I think it should be better right now. If there are any, is there any internet connection? Yeah, it should be fine. Okay, great. Just dipped for a minute. But we're here now to talk about the quarterfinals, and we're joined here by two elite fans of the women's game, Atanu and Yashodan. If you watched our preview video, you'd recognize them because they were on there. They're part of the panel that we chose to cover this particular tournament. Guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm glad we could have you on here. Before we get to the quarterfinals, I think let's just do a quick introduction for those of you who, uh, those of the listeners who haven't watched the preview and who haven't listened to the podcast before. So, Atanu, let's start with you. So, welcome back, and I'm glad to have you on here. How are you doing? And tell us a bit about yourself.
Hey Brady, thanks for having me again. Yeah, it's been good. A very good tournament for the years. We are seeing some teams do well, so I'm happy watching the games. Uh, I'm a United fan first of all, but in this tournament I'm supporting England, and I was supporting Norway, but unfortunately they were knocked out. So yeah,
I mean, I
and
can.
I know.
I think it was before the England Norway game that Atanu meant was like, I don't know if it was before or after, but he sent
After.
me a message on Twitter. It was after. I mean, brave of you to still believe in that, but he sent a message to me on Twitter after that saying it is going to be England versus Norway in the finals. And going on that 8-0 defeat, I mean, the ball's on the man to say something like that. I mean, the belief that he had with the Norwegian team that they would actually not only get past the group stage, which they didn't, but to actually make it to the final. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, like that was a biased opinion. I always knew that due to the bad defense they would always be knocked out, but in the group stages that was a huge surprise for me. But yeah, I'm supporting England. I'm supporting all the United players who are playing in this tournament, and I really don't want any more players to get injured or get knocked out due to COVID, because we've seen so many players suffer from COVID and get knee injuries. It's please, I don't want any of those now. It's the semi-finals. Let's enjoy a good two games. Germany, France, Sweden, England, four very great nations in the tournament. Let's see who wins it for the first time, or who wins it for the ninth time, maybe. Germany, who knows? I think Yash would be very happy if either England or Germany win.
Yeah, that would be a classic final, England versus Germany. But before we get to that, Yashodan, welcome to the podcast once again. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Brady. I think I've been on this podcast quite a few times now, and I always
Yeah,
love coming
I
back.
thought you were going to give me a number, and I couldn't back you up on that. I've
Yeah,
lost
because
count.
I've been there from season one, I guess, and
Yeah,
I've
yeah, yeah.
enjoyed it. I've enjoyed every moment I come, every time I come here. But yeah, I'm a Chelsea fan, and I support England and Germany, as Atanu mentioned already. England, of course, because of the Chelsea connection, and Germany, but just because I love the country. I support their men's team as well, and uh, I've always been fascinated by that team. And God, these players, the German players, are really so exciting, and I'm really eager to watch the Frauen Bundesliga next season. So that's something that I've made sure that I find the links, I find the teams, and I find my favorite team there as well. So I'm really excited to see how the next two games and the final go about, because the four quarterfinals were really interesting, and the Euros overall has been so fun. I mean, even though it has made our sleep schedule go bad, but then we've
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, something that we kind of discussed in the previous episode when we spoke about the group stage, how we in the previews we had all said that this Euro tournament was going to be unpredictable. We didn't have a clue as to who was going to make it. In every prediction, like I mentioned in the previous episode, every prediction that we made or every team that we talked about, they were an underdog coming into this competition. Everyone was a black horse, or like everyone was an unknown or unknown, but because they were a known, no one knew where they were going to end up, so they were a known unknown in a way. And it's kind of been true in I mean, our predictions have sort of come true, but even the tournament and of how it's gone about, the results have been quite shocking in the group stages. In the quarterfinals, perhaps a little less so, but still, I mean, it's not been easy sailing for any of the teams. You know, it's something that I brought up towards the end of the group stage review, which was going into knockouts, right? The team's mentality would change because from a group stage, England were flying away with it. And then it's a totally different kettle of fish when you come up against a team like Spain, and that too in a knockout tournament where one bad day, one mistake could cost you the whole tournament. And I just wanted, before we get to talking about the quarterfinal in greater detail, just to ease in, how was the quarterfinal for you guys? Did you feel that it was something that you predicted and it came all right, or did you feel that there were so many things in play that you didn't expect? Was it, and also did it live up to the hype that you had, or it built up in the in the quarterfinals? You show them.
I think, yeah, because the four games were very closely contested. That was, I think, the best part. I mean, England, Spain obviously going to extra time made things even better, and the hype before the tournament for that England Spain potential game, which we might have seen. I think the rivalry between the fans also helped. Then moving to Germany, Austria, again, neighboring nations, but I think that was the most, you could call it the most one sided game because we knew who our favorites were in that game. And then Sweden, Belgium also, we knew our favorites. But then Belgium, I mean, their defense this tournament, and Evrard, I mean, the keeper, you have to talk about
Yeah,
her. I mean,
yeah,
taking the game to
we
extra
did.
time, I think they've conceded so many shots, but not many
Yeah.
goals. I think she is their MVP for sure. That game was so interesting. And then France, Netherlands, I think was the another game that we all were looking forward to. And while I did feel that Netherlands could have done better, but yeah, in the end, I think the four teams that I had predicted did go through.
Right. Atanu, the same question to you.
Yeah, like if we are mentioning the Belgian goalkeeper, we have to mention the new Netherlands goalkeeper who had to step in.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it was the first game or the second game. I don't remember when their number one got injured, but Daphne has been such a good player for them, and I hope she does well for the club side as well, because next year there's a World Cup coming in, and it will be fantastic to see her play to be the number one for the Netherlands national team. But yeah, I think somewhere or the other, I think there have been some teams who have massively underperformed. Norway, Italy, then I think Netherlands as well. Pretty please, please,
Yeah, yeah,
please.
but yeah,
I'm
yeah,
still very hurt. I'm still hurt that my other favorite team defeated my other favorite team 8-0. But yeah, I think there have been a few underdogs as well. Like I can mention Belgium. I know there were not like it was mostly about finding, like, for example, we saw the Sweden versus Belgium game. Sweden took 33 shots and they could only score one, and
yeah.
that tells you that Belgium were in it for the long haul. It's unfortunate that they couldn't go through. Then England game, I think it was a bit one sided. Everybody expected it to be a bit better. I Don't get me wrong, it was a fantastic game, but then again, I think Spain lagged a few players off the bench, and England had that upper hand. The impact subs, and then there was the game of Germany. I think
Yeah.
I had never thought that Germany would go this far into the tournament, and I think I judged them a little too quickly, and that tells you that they have won the competition 8 times. There's a reason for it, and they are showing it right now that he shouldn't be taken lightly.
Right. Okay. So the first thing about Yashodhan talking about the goalkeeper, this is again something that we stressed on last episode, where we were talking about the best players, and a lot of it, I mean, especially rather a lot of the time, she kept mentioning goalkeepers, and I was wondering why. Because, like, if you know football, we kind of tend to overlook the goalkeepers, overlook even defenders, and kind of look at either midfielders or forwards as our best players. And she kept, and especially when we got to the group containing Sweden and Netherlands, and even the Belgium one, the France Belgium one, I think the Iceland goalkeeper got best player, the and shared with the Belgian goalkeeper, and in the Netherlands group, it was the Dutch goalkeeper who won the best player, or she got a best player award from us. And so it kind of is in line with what you're saying. And in that quarterfinal, despite losing, she was the player of the match, and which is insane to see because despite losing, still the fact that you had so much of an influence, go. I mean, it's crazy. And moving on to Atan, yeah, I think everyone we also kind of underestimated Germany at the start when we were talking about predictions, and then yeah, I think in the other games it was quite tight. It's crazy how some of these underdogs have performed, like Belgium and who are the other ones who. No, actually, yeah, Belgium mainly, and then Austria as well against Germany. I mean, they did put up a
Yeah,
fight, and which is great to see. So, I mean, kudos to them. But I guess, yeah, I think in terms of the hype, definitely continued on. But I suppose when you get to such a stage, seeing past performances, we kind of we did predict fairly correctly. Like
yeah,
after seeing England's performances, you kind of had them as favorites. So that does happen over time, but it was nice to see, the fight still there from all of the oppositions going on. So let's and also mentioning about the team that kind of underperformed was Italy as well, which who we expected to do well, and then yeah,
yeah.
they completely flopped there. All right, so um, am I having connection issue? I have some connection issue. I don't know why, but it keeps showing yellow. But that's all right. Let's move on now to like what we did in the previous episode, and that is to give out the awards for the best players and all of that. So before we get to that, I'm just quickly going to share my screen. Um, that's perfect. And let's get back here. Awesome. Great. So to those of you watching this, whether you're watching it live now or you're watching it later on, as you can see, we've come up with different categories, albeit it's different to what we had in our previous episode. Given obviously now it's quarterfinals, we don't have best game because what is the best game in England Spain? It's going to be England Spain only. Now we
Yeah,
have best goal because in some of the games it was only 1-1-0, and of course you'd have to give the best goal to the only goal scored. So we've changed it up a bit, refreshed it a bit. So we definitely have still got the best player award for the quarterfinals. We've got the best moment, which again is self-explanatory, where you guys will decide what was the best moment in that particular game, and the wild card still remains, where if you haven't mentioned something in the best player or the best moment discussion, and you feel that it's worth mentioning and you want it to be put up there, you can tell me and you can tell us about it, and we'll definitely have that up there. All right.
all
So
right.
great. So let's start off with the first quarterfinal, and that is England versus Spain. Huge game. Two titans going into this. Of course, Spain had some issues. I did mention Alexei missing out at the start, which is typical Spain. In the men's game, we had before the World Cup, they sacked their coach. This time, their world's best player gets injured days before the tournament. It's Spain traditions. I hope it stops now, but it's a massive game. England coming into this red hot form. I cannot stress this enough. Beating Norway 8-0 is not an easy feat, even though their defense is terrible.
Yeah.
Um, Sorry to bring this up again, Atanu, but I will hopefully limit this to this time only. But they were coming into red hot from topping the group. We didn't expect them to. We didn't predict that they would, unless you guys thought that you would jinx it otherwise, and you purposely said that they wouldn't. And then we've got Spain, who also didn't. I mean, who didn't top their group, came second, so they ended up with against England. And let's talk about the best player first. So Atanu, the England versus Spain game. Of course, it was crazy. It was Spain scored first, if I'm not mistaken. Then was it
Yeah.
Tooney equalized, and then at the end, Stanway with a crazy goal. So you tell me who is the best player according to you? Biases
Mm,
aside, I can see the
yeah.
I want to tell any United player. I don't want to tell some United player.
It's difficult because I do want to say Ella Toon's name, but I would want that to be the best moment because she came on and changed the game. So for best player, I would go with Ona Bachi, another United player. I'm sorry, Yash. I know you wouldn't agree, but Ona
Not at
Bhatia had
all.
a
Not
wonderful
at all.
game. I think Ona had a wonderful game. She forced Lauren Hem to interchange positions with Beth Mead, so that
Yeah.
Lauren Hem could go ahead a little bit more. And I know that there was this battle on Twitter as well. Who will prevail? Whether it will be Lauren Hemp or whether it will be Unabati, because in the Manchester derbies we have seen it to be a very interesting tough between those two players. So I think this time Unabati came on top and she had a wonderful game. It's unfortunate that Spain couldn't go further into the tournament and win it for Alexia,
Is it
but
unfortunate? I mean, you're England fans, so of course you'd
no,
say
but
fortunately
like
they
if,
did.
but if we see it from like they're missing so many players, they've got three injuries before the tournament even started. So from that perspective, I think it would have been very good to see them go ahead. But yes, obviously, I'm very happy that England won. But for best player, I'll give it to Ona Bhatia.
Awesome, brilliant. And you show them? Of course,
I
you've
think,
already mentioned that you're not agreeing with him. So who would you
yeah.
put it there?
I think I was confused between two players. One was Georgia Stanway. I think throughout the game, she was amazing, winning the balls in midfield as well. I mean, obviously, the goal gives her an edge. People were talking about her all day, but you do remember Spain dominating possession early in the first half, and then
Yeah,
I think when even they also scored early in the second half. So that was kind of you could see Spain dominating. Cardona was brilliant, and I think she forced Rachel Daly off the pitch because she was having such a hard time. But I think my player of the match has to be UEFA's player of the match as well. It has to be Millie Bright. I mean, she was so good. I mean, you could call me. I am a Chelsea fan,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I think everyone does agree that Millie Bright had the game of her life. And you throw a refrigerator at her, and she'll head it back to you. So that was her during the game,
Yeah.
and I think I saw a stat actually. She ran more than 12 kilometers during the game, and that is an incredible stat, I believe, because okay, fine, they
I mean,
did play 120
as a
minutes.
defend, yeah, but as a
As a
defend, that's
defender,
crazy.
exactly. As a
Yeah,
defender, that's
exactly. I mean,
crazy.
yeah,
She
So
also had 100% aerial duels. Like she won all of her
I
aerial
think that's a
duels.
given with Millie
yeah,
Bright. She leads that chart in even in the WSL. I think only Wendy Renard comes close to her when it. She's better than her, I'd say Renard when it comes to aerial duels in Europe. But I think Millie was brilliant, and you could see her growth over the last 3-4 years because I'm telling you, and I do not like saying this, but had it been Millie Bright maybe 3 years ago or this thing, I would have you could have said maybe an own goal from her, an error that led to goal. But she's completely a changed player now. She has that leadership responsibility and she
yeah.
delivered.
Oh, awesome, perfect. All right. So what I'm going to do is, I think we'll, unless Atanu wants to agree with the same, else I'll have to split the vote. I would have also probably gone for Millie Bright, but I'm not going to put my vote in here. So I'm going to let you guys decide. So we've obviously got Ona, okay, and we've got Millie Bright. All right. So while I get the pitches up. Let's talk about the best moment from that game. Okay, so Yashodhan, take it away.
For me, best moment I'd say was not actually the goal, but it was the substitution of Alex Greenwood. And people might say that it didn't really make a difference, but she was amazing, and she's done that consistently for Man City, especially since Steph Houghton. Because of her injury, she took over the
Yeah.
captaincy in few games, and Alex Greenwood's substitution made a big change because she locked that left side of the defense. And I remember an incident which I would also put it. You could have it as my second best moment. So Alex Greenwood
Okay.
was running 15-20 yards just to win a header, and she didn't do it once. She did
Oh,
it 3-4 times. So that was her commitment to getting that win, because England had got the winner and they needed to still keep Spain out, and she did that brilliantly. And I believe that was a great decision from Sarina.
okay. Atanu?
Yeah, I always thought that Alex Greenwood would start in the centre back position alongside Millie Bright, but I don't know what's happened. Like the plans changed after that. I thought maybe she'll start as the left back, but she doesn't. Alex Greenwood, I would start her in the left back role, but call it a biased opinion. But I think that those changes, Chloe Kelly, Alessia Russo, and Ella Toon on the pitch, I think that changed the game, because in the first half we saw Spain dominate. Like Spain were winning the midfield battle a lot, and then Chloe, like I know Ella Toon is the only midfielder out of the three that I mentioned, but I think all the three players made a huge impact, and they have rightly done so in the games as well. But I think this game was like this was a knockout game. If you lost, you lost.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah. Yeah.
those three substitutes changed the game. So I'd go with Ella Toon just because she scored the goal. It isn't a biased opinion. Like Ona Bati might have been a biased opinion, who knows? But not Ella Toon. I think Ella Toon's
Okay.
substitution changed the game.
All right. Okay. So we're talking about substitution. So what I'm going to just do is put up Serena's picture there because obviously that is her job.
She deserves it. Yeah, she deserves it.
Yeah. All right. Great. So let's try and see if she has an England jersey up or something up there. Not really, but doesn't matter. Okay. So with Serena there, now let's talk about a wild card. So something that you guys think we haven't mentioned so far and believe that it needs to be mentioned. So whoever wants to go first, yeah.
I think this wasn't on the pitch exactly, but I think
Hmm.
Misa Rodriguez yellow card was one of the funniest moments of the game. The Spain second choice keeper, and
Yeah, yeah,
the way she kicked the ice box, and the way she spoke to the referee. I think
I
that was
think it was
needed in a
the
very heated game
that was the
from an
time when
audience point of view.
Russo gave the assist, and like there was it
Yeah,
was a soft foul, I think, on Paradise.
yeah.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
that brought a
Okay.
comic element to a very teensy affair, and I enjoyed it. I mean, as a spectator, even though it didn't happen exactly on the pitch, I would put that as my wildcard moment.
Fair enough. Atanu?
I actually wanted to mention a player called Amayor Sarigi. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing the name right.
That's fine.
She came in as a replacement for Alexia, uh,
Hmm.
but Yash mentioned a very good incident, so I'll go with that. Misa getting the yellow
That's
card
fine. I'm
because I
not going to
think
put a photo. I'm not going to put up a photo there, so it's fine. You
no,
can have your own wild card.
no, but I think I want her. I want to reach a consensus here so that in other moments I'll get to be the I'll get to decide.
Fair enough. All right, great. Awesome. So we're down with quarterfinal one, and we now move on to quarterfinal two, which was Germany versus Austria. Austria being obviously the surprise package here in Group A, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, we expected Norway. Austria's come in, and obviously Germany topping the group there. So it was 2-0 to Germany. Another, if you go by the scoreline, easy affair. I mean, Germany's very efficient win, done and dusted, onto the semifinals. But I want to get your thoughts on this game and also, who you think who the best player was. So Yashodan, are you on mute? Wait.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the game was amazing, and this was one I was very heavily involved with because I had my Germany jersey on as well while I was watching, and I think the best player was Clara Buell for me because she didn't score a goal, but I think she ran the show, and she was also on my fantasy team, so that bias comes there. And even though she didn't give me a lot of points because of no goals scored, but she was so good, and she has been throughout the tournament. I think the whole German
Yeah.
unit itself has been so good. And we keep talking about Alexandra Pop, but then their defense needs to be given a huge credit because they've not conceded a goal all tournament. I think it's three
Uh.
clean sheets in group stage and 2-0 in the quarters. So that's four
Okay.
clean sheets now. So
Yeah, Germany are the only
Yeah.
team that have kept clean
yeah.
sheets. Yeah.
So France better watch
Yeah.
out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Of course. That's wondering, but yeah, true. Atanu.
Yeah, like I didn't watch the full game. I could only watch it in parts. But there's this midfielder called Lena Oberdorf.
Yeah.
Oberdorf. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing the name right, but she's been
That's fine.
fantastic.
She
This
was
yeah,
top.
she's
Yeah.
yeah, she was fantastic, and I know she wasn't involved in any goal, not any goal, not any assist, but I think she is the best player in the German team right now for me personally, and she's quite young as well, 20 years old. So she's one of those breakthrough stars for the in the Euros this season, this summer.
Awesome. All right. So, ooh, we don't have a consensus here, but again, I will split the vote down and give it to both of them. Let's talk about the
Brady,
best moment. Yeah.
I'd like to add a third player, and this is my Chelsea bias coming in. I think Zinsberger was brilliant with her assist, and she deserves a shout out there.
Shout out. Fair enough.
Yeah.
The fact that you led with this got I've got a bias against it. That's fair enough. Okay, let's talk about the best moment, Yashodan, on of this game.
I think I just mentioned it, and I'm going with that. That Zinsberger assist, and I think the press from Germany there was brilliant. And they, like I said, they've been one team where they've not been carried by someone. It's been a unit, and because with England also, I mean, they have been pretty good as a team, but then you have seen Beth Mead, kind of take away the show, and you've seen that with other teams as well. But Germany have been throughout; they've been so good with their pressing, with their defensive unit. So I'm going with that
Mhm.
Zinsberger one because they forced it out of her. It wasn't
Right.
exactly a gift; they forced it out of her.
Okay, great. And Atanu?
Yeah, I was about to mention the same thing.
Really?
Zinsberger's
Okay.
assist, yeah. And I think, yeah, I agree with Yash. I also wanted to mention it earlier, but that Germany, when you see, like, for example, you don't watch the Euros and you're just seeing the scores, and you'll just go on to Germany's tab or whatever the Google search is, and then you'll see the goal
Hmm.
scorers. There's not one goal scorer or two goal scorers in every game. There have been several people who have scored the goals. There have been several people who have given the assists. Just for someone who's new to women's football and is watching it for the first time, I think Yash has summed it up pretty well that Germany are a complete unit. They are not dependent on one player.
Yeah. I mean, which is, I suppose, like I'm not saying it's the antithesis, yeah, of what Norway is, which is basically we were talking about Norway as being this team of this big stars and everything, but here it's more together. It's more about being a team rather having the big stars doing the big things and just having famous names. All right, great. So we're talking about Zinsberger. Anyway, so let's. Uh, so where was that against Austria, right? Okay. The wild card moment.
I actually have two. One is
Okay.
I think the first goal which Lina Magul scored, the dummy by Alexandra Pop. I think that was a very clever one in the build-up. And the second is Zinsberger's best friend, her goal post, because I think Germany hit the goal post 3 or 4 times during the game, and we could have scored more. But yeah, I'm happy with the 2-0.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think
And
one of the woodwork was from Buell. I think you're mentioning the Buell woodwork only. So I also wanted to mention that woodwork. Zinsberger, I think she could have conceded three. She could have conceded one, but she decided to give an assist. So
okay, great. All right. Awesome. So
Thank
let
God
me
you
just
didn't
get that.
invite an
Yeah.
Arsenal fan. I mean, we are having the time of our life, the two of us.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, Unnati is not here, so luckily, yeah, we don't have the Arsenal on here. All right. So great. Yeah, I was pretty sure. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, that we don't have any City fan or yeah, who else would? Yeah, City fan for Atanu's Manchester United to kind of go against it. But yeah.
City have
All
fans.
right. So we're done. Sorry.
City have fans? Question mark.
The oldest joke in the book
Let's.
now.
Yeah, I know. Let's
Yeah,
not get into that.
but there's
Yeah,
no
and
City
plus,
fan,
I
so I
mean,
can
Liverpool.
enjoy.
Yeah, and plus Liverpool fans just about. I mean, it'll only be this year where we can actually kind of talk about the WSL. So
Yeah.
probably next year we can have this conversation, or throughout the next year. Let's talk about now the third quarterfinal, and that is between Sweden versus Belgium. If Austria was a surprise package, Belgium would be similar. And by that I mean we kind of predicted that Italy would make it. Iceland almost made it. It was a bit sad that their last game was against France because I felt if they had played any of either Italy or Belgium, I think they could have actually gone through. But we've got Sweden versus Belgium, and like we mentioned at the start, I mean, we thought it would have been an easy game for Sweden, given we've seen Belgium sort of struggle a bit in the group stage. Not struggle in the sense that they've not conceded a lot, but they struggled to score and try to beat opponents. But here we are. It ended up only being a 1-0 victory for Sweden. And Atanu, I wanted to get your thoughts on this and also who was your best player from that game.
I think with Sweden, they've obviously got some COVID cases over the last. I think it was the last game only. They missed several of their key starting 11 players. So 1-0, yeah, it's fine, but I think uh, their attackers haven't been clinical enough. Like you see them taking 30. I think only 7 or 8 of them were on target. So that's a very bad percentage of shots on target. Plus, I think Stina Blackstenius, I know I think people had high expectations from her. She had to lead the line, but I think she hasn't done that well. Of course, she has had some goals here and there. She also got, I think, one of the goals were overturned due to VAR in the
Yeah.
quarterfinals, if I'm not wrong. So I think she hasn't performed up to the level that she should have been, but it's fine. I think they've got a good set of players. They've got Aslani, who I really rate, and I think she was one of the best players in my opinion in this game. Sorry, how can I not mention the Belgium goalkeeper? Yeah,
Yeah.
that.
Everyone,
I,
yeah.
was,
Yeah, sorry.
I
I
thought
was
I thought you were going
focusing
to
on.
say that we've already mentioned that, so let's not get
Yeah,
back to
yeah,
that. We'll mention something else, but fair enough. Yeah,
I,
no, that's fine.
yeah, I apologize. Yeah, I think
No, that's all right.
Evra had a fantastic game. 7 saves, like 7 saves.
Yeah,
I've tried to play goalkeepers many times during my school days, and it isn't as easy as it looks. 7 saves
yeah,
is like against a team like Sweden, who have won the silver
yeah.
medal at the Olympics. They've got a good set of players. I'm not denying that. They haven't been clinical enough, but they did test the goalkeeper a lot of times. They did test the defense a lot of times. They did take 33 shots, which is not a joke. And
yeah.
7 saves is fantastic. I think Everard was the best player in my opinion.
Right. I mean, it's not easy when your net's going to be bombarded so
True.
much, like continuously by top quality players. I say top quality. I know they missed so many, but still, to have it repeatedly, you're on your toes every second. There's no respite for you because at any particular second somebody's going to get the ball and try and attempt to shoot. And to save 7 shots is, I mean, you think goalkeeping would be easy because you've got the gloves, you're able to use your hands, but still, it is the sh- the fierceness with which the velocity and the fierceness with which you these players hit the ball, it's not easy. Plus you defend. I mean, I don't know how tall she is, or how big her frame is, because the goal itself is quite big. So you have to dive, you have to save a lot. So fair play to her. And yeah, when I saw her get the player of the match, it seemed like, yeah, well deserved. Yashodhan, the same question goes about the game and the best player.
I think yeah, Nikki Evra takes that one, the best player. But the game was actually Atanu pretty much summed it up well. But I remember us the three all of us talking in the pre-tournament prediction about how Belgium was struggling defensively. I think we mentioned the game against England they played, and England won final. But I think one of us said that they could have easily scored 10 or 11, and that's
Yeah,
been Belgium's story throughout this tournament. They've conceded a lot of shots, but I think Nikki Everard has been their superstar, their savior, and she did that once again. She didn't take them over the mark, but then she was taking it to the 92nd minute and then conceding. I think that must have been heartbreaking, but she did, keep them in the game for so long.
yeah. I don't think, as much as the goalkeeper's job is to keep them in the game. I mean, there's only so much that you can do as a goalkeeper. It's like you can
True.
save the shots and all that, but at the end of the day, like the famous Michael Owen quote goes, like, you need to score a goal to win a game,
Yeah,
or something like that. So yeah, it's crazy. And for her to get it, like I said, I mean, kudos to her. And it's a bright future. Like, if Belgium can get their other acts together, like their defense or their midfield and their forwards, all
yeah,
that. I mean, they've got a good. At least they've got one player who they can rely on now for future tournaments. Just need to,
true.
but such experiences will help them playing against the likes of Sweden, France as well, where they did decently. Yeah, it only bodes well for them in the near future. All right, let's
Yeah,
talk about
can
the
I can
best
I
moment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can
yeah,
I add
go ahead.
something? Yeah, like
Yeah, yeah, sure.
we saw with Sweden as well. They were missing several of the players. I think Hannah Glass was missing, Anderson was
Mhm.
missing. Still, they didn't let Belgium score. So that speaks highly of how good this Sweden side is, and that why so many of us were like, yes, like they are they are the favorites. This is the tournament where Sweden will finally win the
Yeah,
trophy.
fair
I'm
enough.
I'm I'm,
Let's
I'm
talk about.
jinxing. I'm jinxing it right now.
Yeah, of course they're playing your team anyway. So let's talk about the best moment, Atanu, in the game. What would you say?
I mean, yeah, obviously Sweden's goal in the 90 plus second minute. I think if I'm not wrong, uh,
Yeah,
don't remember who scored it. I think it was Linda Sembrant, if I'm not wrong. But I think Sweden scoring that goal in the 90 plus second minute, and I think this in these four quarterfinals we have seen two goals in the injury time. Like France also scored in the injury time, if I'm
Yeah.
not wrong. Yeah, so it just adds to the excitement of the Euros this time that so like it isn't easy to score many goals. It's a tough contest between the two teams.
Yeah, I think France scored in extra
in
time.
the extra time,
Don't know
yeah,
if
they
they
got a
extra
penalty.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah, fair. Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, yeah, the a late goal is heartbreaking, especially. I mean,
yeah.
got it so far, and then just suddenly, I mean, it's elation for one side, it's despair, and it's heartbreaking for the other side, the losing side. You showed the best moment for you.
I think I'm going with the same one because Sweden kept pushing the door and they finally got through. So we could say that, and everyone, even though a lot of us started rooting for Belgium just because of Everard, and
Yeah,
you always love an underdog story, but then
of course.
who also doesn't love an injury time winner? So I think we'll go
True.
with that
Fair.
as the best moment.
Awesome. Great. All right. Let's put that there. And then, of course, we've got wild card. Anything that worth mentioning that we haven't in the game? Yashodhan?
Uh, Again, my wildcards have been not in the game, but
Yeah,
I
fair enough.
so I think the Belgium Red Flames. social media has been brilliant in order to get fans excited about the Euros, and they made a friends video announcing their team
Oh,
and all just recently, and
wow.
it was a very nice concept, I felt. So just before this game, and I think that should be the wild card. I think they
Fair
do
enough.
deserve a shout out. The Belgium Red Flames have been brilliant and promoting the game, promoting women's sports. So I think they are my wild card. And I think even though you are not putting pictures there, you should put one of
Okay,
their
yeah,
logos there.
I'll put that there. I mean,
Yeah,
it's nice to see when teams do that, something different, and get
definitely.
involved
Yeah,
with the fans. It's crazy. I mean, I haven't come across that, which is crazy because Twitter has always got somebody posting something about something as insane as this. So I hope this is
no,
the right one.
it actually received a lot of retweets and people were really happy with it. So I think that
I mean, I
deserves a
wish.
shout out, and you should definitely watch it
Yeah,
after this
yeah,
recording. Yeah,
yeah. I definitely will. Like I said, I'm surprised that something like this didn't pop up on my feed. My feed. I mean, I should really consider who I'm following or who's on my feed because my feed sometimes is so crap. Anyway, just filled with utter nonsense of the men's game. I should probably just try and figure it out. But let's talk about the last quarterfinal now, which was France versus Netherlands, which was I suppose, apart from England, Spain, this was the quarterfinal that everybody was, you
yeah,
know, eagerly awaiting. Yeah, let's stop at that. It was the battle between the two giants, both who haven't done that great in the group stage. They were okay at average. They've had their moments, but that's what built it up so much that one team going into this wasn't so much of a favorite against the others. Like you still thought, fine, even though France topped their group, you still thought Netherlands
yeah,
aren't too off. They could have a potential chance, and it took an injury time winner for France to actually make it through. Despite, like, I saw people saying that Netherlands didn't really have that great a game, but I mean, so neither did France for it to be so late in the game. And it was it's a recent Chelsea recruit, isn't it? Eve?
yes. F
Yes,
F.
I was
So
waiting.
it's
Yeah.
F
F,
Perisset.
F. Okay,
Yeah.
F. Right.
Yeah, Chelsea
So,
actually asked her to make a video saying, "How do you pronounce your name?"
how do
Make
you.
that.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay, fair enough. So you should let's go with you because obviously you're elated by that. Not by the fact that France or Netherlands won, but the fact that obviously a Chelsea new recruit scored the winning goal. So how's the game and who is your best player?
My best player, I'd say here was Daphne. I think, yeah, she was brilliant. Yeah, the Dutch keeper, because again, Netherlands were so off. I mean, that midfield, when you have someone like Van der Donk, Jill Rood, or even Jackie Groenen, you do feel that they could control the ball well, they could play well, but that didn't happen. I think France
Yeah.
were all over them, and yeah, it was a very weird match to look out at, because you always look at Netherlands as someone who are a very good attacking team, some really good players. I mean, Mia Dema, of course, she did recover from COVID, so I think that was the key.
Mhm.
But then, yeah, we've seen her kind of ghost in big games, or when the
You're
rest of the
lucky
team
there's
is
no
not
Arsenal
winning.
fan on. Yeah.
I'm being
Yeah.
honest. I mean,
No,
we've
no,
seen.
yeah, I have seen her at the big game. Yeah, there has
Yeah,
been those
when the
moments where
rest
it
of the
hasn't
team, she
happened.
doesn't have that support. I think she also kind of fades away as the game progresses. But
Yeah,
I'm going with Daphne as my best player.
right. I agree. I think like I was watching the game and it felt like the midfield were trying something, but Miriam's trying as much as she was trying, that there was so much of a disconnect that she'd get the ball
Yeah,
and she'd lose the ball and the midfield would lose the ball. It just didn't flow right, and I don't know whether it was the right decision. And Atano, you could interject and you can add on to this, but I'm not sure whether it was the right idea to to have Vivian on the pitch so early after recovery. I know she's such an important player, but you know, like I mentioned the previous one, I just had the virus and I'm coming out of it right now. I came out of it a week ago, whatever. like you're tired, you're really tired. It takes at least a few days before you actually can recover back to, I would not even say 100%, but 95% or 99%. And even though I'm not an athlete, I can understand, like, she must have been, to be put in such an important game, the stress levels that are added to
Yeah.
that, the fact that she'd have to run around to, not she's not one of, like, I get that she could probably be one of those people like in the box strikers, but no, she does move around as well. So you can't just have someone just staying in the box and have people just crossing up and down the pitch for her. And so yeah, all of that. I don't know. It felt like she maybe should have been brought on rather than as a sub, rather than have her start such an important game. What were your thoughts on that? And again, adding on to what Yashoda mentioned, who was your best player?
Yeah, like when I talk about the best player, I would go with Daphne. No questions asked.
Okay.
She was fantastic. I
Yeah.
actually thought that Yash would take the name of F. Periset. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah, I'll come to that once
Yeah.
we get to the best moments.
You know, when I saw who had scored the
Oh.
goal, and I was like, oh my god, Yash would be elated so much.
I
It's the
actually
newest signing.
stopped watching the match just 2 minutes before the goal. So I just went to the washroom and I started watching something else. I got distracted and I got a notification, goal by F Perisic, and I just turned on and I was turned on the stream and I was so happy
Oh,
to
I'm
see
glad you
her
said
get
that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the best
Uh,
part is her knocking out Miedem. I mean, that Chelsea gene is there. Right, even before she's joined
Yash,
our camp.
Yash, you have a Dutch player in Chelsea as well, Anik Nguyen.
I think we did discuss this in the pre tournament
Yeah,
possibly,
discussion
yeah.
as well. And
yeah,
while I do like Anik, I think the excitement of a new signing, because that right back position is something we have been looking to, upgrade. And
Yeah.
one thing I wanted to mention is I actually thought Renard would take the penalty because she does usually take their pens, and but I think she missed one in the group stages. So maybe F took that, and she maybe might continue our tradition of having a right back taking up penalties, because Maren Mjelde used to take up penalties, and she scored some really intense penalties in the last few minutes, dying minutes. And Ev has those genes. I mean, she's scoring in such a big game, knocking out Netherlands. So that's good to know that we have an extra penalty taker in our team now.
Awesome. Great. I love how effortlessly we moved on to club football. But
yeah.
let's talk about the best moment, Yashodhan. And I suppose we've already touched upon it. What was your best moment?
F. Perisit taking that penalty.
Yeah. Okay. And Atanu?
I'll go with Yash, but
Okay.
like I think this can be a wild card or not. But Selma Bacha or Baka, sorry, she was awarded the Player of the Match award, and
Yeah.
UEFA posted some sort of a video, and in that video you
Hmm.
could see that Daphne should have won it because she made so many saves. So I think maybe that can be the wild card or the best moment. I don't know, but yeah, I think I'll go with Yash for this one. It's F. Periset scoring that penalty and making Yash happy.
I'm glad that we're on such good terms on this podcast. All right. So I mean, great. We've got your wild card, I suppose, for this particular game. Yashodhan, what would your wild card be?
Uh, so I was watching the highlights again because like I mentioned, I missed some part of it. And I think Van de Graatt, the two goal line clearances that she made, I think those were brilliant. And yes, we did mention that France were all over the place. Sorry, Netherlands were all over the place.
Yeah.
France were dominating, and they had a lot of shots. But those two goal line clearances stood out for me. I mean, so Daphne finally did get some help, but not enough.
No, unfortunately. The
Yeah.
Okay, so the penalty was by what caused the penalty though? I haven't watched the thing, so like what was it wasn't the goalkeeper who caused the penalty, was it?
I think it was something to do with Diani bringing down Jansen, if I'm not wrong, or Jansen
Okay.
bringing down Diani. Sorry, the other way
Yeah, yeah,
around.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
okay.
think
Yeah, of
so.
course. If it was the other way, it would definitely not have a penalty for that. All right,
So that's
great.
the
So,
part I missed. I was the penalty highlight, so I was happy
I
with that.
I think it was quite late, so I was also, in
Yeah,
between
yeah,
closing my eyes, opening
groggy.
my eyes. It was very, I was feeling very sleepy. But I just
Yeah.
wanted to say something that I think Pelova is a right winger, and Parsons started her as the left winger. I think it shouldn't have been the case. I do agree with what Miedema said. Sorry,
Okay. No, that's fine.
sorry, I agree with what Yash said about Miedema, that she shouldn't have started. So I think Brady said it, that she shouldn't have
yeah,
started this game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I remember against Sweden, Miedema was playing as a number 10. Like she was dropping down into the midfield a lot of times, and helping with the build up. And in that game, Netherlands were in dire need of Miedema the 9 and not Miedema the 10.
Mhm.
And I think in this game it was the other way around, that Miedema like I know Miedema was dropping into the midfield, but Netherlands needed someone in the box and there was nobody. I think Lineth, like people thought that Lineth would go into the box and there was nobody. So I think Mark Parsons, if he is there in the World Cup, around the World Cup, he needs to solve this. He needs to integrate Daphne into the team, and that defense. I think there are some areas where they can improve. I think
Okay.
Van der Graat has been fantastic, no doubt. Bridge is another player that I really like. So in the tournament, they have developed like they have slowly, steadily got the 11, but it's about the role and the position that they have to play, which Mark Parsons needs to correct. So hopefully they'll get it over the line by the World Cup. But yeah, I think
Oh, still
this
got
is
time for
what
that.
yeah,
yeah.
this is what my thoughts were over the game.
I think
No,
even
fair enough. Yeah.
we should talk about Lika Martin's foot injury in the groups. So that also could have, not having Miedema for a bit in training,
Yeah.
and then also not having Lika Martins, who are your two powerhouses of that squad. So
I think
that,
many things have gone wrong for Netherlands in this tournament.
yeah,
Like they have gone for Spain as well. Like they missed Jackie Gronin through COVID as well, Miedema through COVID.
Hmm.
Lika Martins gets a foot injury. Their goalkeeper gets injured. Anik Nguyen also got injured, if I'm not wrong, in the
yeah,
first
yeah,
game. Yeah,
yes.
so many things going against them. So I think, yeah, I think
Yeah.
somewhere or the other that Lika Martins injury derailed their campaign, if that's the correct term.
Yeah, no, and also unlike Sweden, who also has similar issues, or like Spain, they didn't come up against someone like an underdog like a Belgium or an Austria. They came up against France or an England,
Yeah.
who were obviously a much bigger opponent. All right, so let's. I mean that's how it looks now or that's how our awards look now for the quarterfinals. Of course, this will now change for the semifinals where we're gonna get England versus Sweden or Sweden versus England and Germany versus France. So it's gonna be two powerhouse games. Of course, there are no underdogs here. They're both going into this. The all four teams going into this with crazy victories and full. I wouldn't say a full strength squad because I think Sweden I don't know, might still be suffering for a bit, but they're going into this with a run of good victories, a run of good form, which means that we're going to get either a crazy game, two crazy semifinals, or we're gonna get a two drab semifinals, which will go up all the way to penalties because both sides cancel each other out, right?
Yeah.
And we're gonna kind of just discuss a little bit about that. So before we get to that, I'm just going to look at our predictions that we did, and this is what they were. All right. Now
I just
it's
wanted to
not too
mention
bad.
one
Yeah.
thing before we go to the our
Yeah.
predictions, which went horribly wrong. But the point which you mentioned about Sweden also facing a lot of issues with injuries, COVID, but that's what the thing that keeps them apart from Netherlands is, I think Sweden are a much better coach team as a unit.
Yeah.
So even if they lose out on their key players, that philosophy of strong defense and holding the ball well, so that I think they have an upper hand over that. And even though they did play someone like a Belgium, I
Mhm.
feel Sweden might have gone through even if they played a better opponent.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, then I suppose it's more like Spain than it is against Sweden because
Yeah,
both sort of had their, similar coaching issues and all that. All right. So our predictions, I know you mentioned went haywire. It's not that bad if you see it, okay? Because we look at
okay,
it from group stage to the quarterfinals, and we mentioned this last episode. So we've obviously got the one mistake from Group A is obviously Norway, Austria for
yeah.
Norway.
I
That
think
was
all
the main
four of
thing.
us had said Norway would win, and we were just
Yeah,
being safe, or we didn't want to
yeah,
curse it, but
of course, of course. So I kind of fair enough. We said Norway would top. I mean, I'm not talking about the rankings, but the teams that actually made it to the quarterfinals. We got Germany right. We got Spain right. We got England right. We got Sweden right. Italy was the biggest shocker, more so. I suppose a little more so than Norway, but equal enough. Italy was a shocker. France and Netherlands made it through. Now, of course, Spain and England, surprisingly, we said Spain would top and England would come second. The opposite happened, but they still faced each other in the quarterfinals. So we got that right.
okay.
France and Netherlands did also make the quarterfinals. I think this is something that we did predict correctly, that France would top and Netherlands would come second.
I think,
So
yeah, the bottom half looks pretty good for us.
pretty, yeah. Only thing, England won't play France, England would play
Yeah,
Sweden.
yeah,
We've done Sweden, Italy, which I suppose Sweden, Belgium, and we did say Sweden would win. Fair enough. Norway, Germany is the only quarterfinal where we actually got wrong. So we've actually got 3 out of 4 results correct, which is 75%, which is a decent
yeah,
prediction. The Germany Norway one was the one that we kind of went wrong because of Norway being there. We obviously got Austria. So all in all, I think I mean, out of the 4 teams that are making it to the semifinals, we've got 3 right.
yeah,
Of course, that 75% is going to come down to 50% because England and Sweden can't play each other. They'll be playing in the semifinals. So we're going to get one out of the two finalists correct,
yeah.
and it's great. But let's talk about the semifinals. What do you guys think the semifinals will bring for us? Are we expecting goals galore, or are we expecting two teams canceling, or the 4 teams canceling each other out, because this is the semifinal? We are one step away from the final. You're 2 steps away from holding that crazy looking, awesome looking trophy, actually. So, Atanu, I want to get your thoughts going into the semifinals, Tuesday, Wednesday. How excited are you for it, and what do you expect from it?
Uh, England, Sweden, first of all. Uh,
Yeah,
it's a very difficult game, if I'm being honest. I know Sweden didn't play up like well against Belgium, but then again, it form goes out of the window when you're in the semifinals. Uh,
Yeah.
two amazing teams, two teams which are coached very well by their respective head coaches or managers. So I think this might go to extra time and maybe penalties. This is a game where I think England might get a reality check that yes, it isn't that easy to reach the final. Brady's laughing that
yeah, yeah. This is the jinx protectors going on off the roof. Yeah, but fair enough. No, I get it. I think, yeah, like, I mean,
yeah. Like
God,
I'll be
God
honest.
help us sleep.
Yeah, like I'll be honest, but against Norway, I know 8-0, very bad result. But somewhere or the other, it wasn't biased opinion that I was rooting for Norway. I really wanted England to get a reality check, and it isn't something that I think they are being proud or they are being boastful or they've let
Yeah,
success get to their heads. I just think that whenever a lion is wounded, they come back and they do better than people expect them to. So I think that's the only reason why I wanted England to get a reality check. I know they don't play many games. Like how many games you'll play if you
yeah,
reach the final, 5 or 6, and if you
yeah.
even lose one of them, it's
It's
disheartening. But
difficult. Yeah,
yeah,
not only disheartening. Yeah, but it's difficult. But the thing is, I suppose the reality check you could say came about in Spain. Spain
Yeah,
scoring the first goal, they were like, "Oh shit, okay." I mean, like we could really be out of this. And then they did have the sort of resilience and tenacity to come back and score two goals, which is great. Which will do a world of good for their confidence to know that they can come against it. But I suppose Sweden will be their biggest test in the sense that they're facing a side that is well coached, that even despite injuries, like Yashodhan mentioned, is efficient and is set right. Everyone knows their roles. We know Norway had their issues with the defense. We know Spain had coaching issues and injury issues, and now we're coming against an actual. This is probably their biggest test, and something. If I suppose if we I wouldn't say we can draw parallels to the World Cup that England played in the men's game, where they kind of had an easy route until they met Croatia in the semi-final, which was actually a tougher team, I suppose. I wouldn't say it's the toughest team, but that they actually were the team that were much more organized and actually took it to them. So I suppose that would be Sweden for the Sweden women's team for this England side. You show them, but I want to get your thoughts on both both the semifinals. Adhan will get to the other semifinals as well, but Yashodhan, uh, your thoughts on both?
I think looking at the two fixtures, the first one, England Sweden, looks uh, more of one where you might not see a goals galore. If you are
Yeah,
counting on a goals galore, I would say that might happen in the Germany France one. But England and Sweden are such defensively strong teams, especially Sweden.
yeah.
So I think that's one where I would go with Atanu saying that it's going to be a very tight affair, but I don't think it will go to penalties. I feel we will have a winner in regulation time, 90 minutes.
Okay,
I'm going with that, yeah.
fair
And
enough.
it should be a
It,
one goal margin. I don't see more than that.
okay, and Adhan, we'll talk about the second semifinals as well. I want to get your thoughts on that. We spoke about Sweden, England, but the Germany, France one as
Like I'll agree with what Yash said that Germany versus France might be a goals galore, but then again Germany have kept four clean sheets in a row, and even
Yeah.
France, if I'm not wrong,
well. Oh, goals galore can be
France,
one-sided as well. But yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
like
but
of
France
course,
haven't also. I mean, France have kind of let one goal rather than multiple goals
no,
against
yeah, like
teams.
one goal in every game I think in the group stages.
Yeah,
So yeah,
But I
so
think their group was also comparatively easier
yeah,
than Germany. I mean, who had to, face Spain, which
yeah,
isn't easy.
I think
yeah,
with Germany, it's like, of course, people expected them to do well, but personally, I didn't expect them to go this far into the tournament. So I think there's this thing that they want the critics to like. They want to prove the critics wrong. So I think that's that kick that you really want to do well. With France, I've always mentioned. I'd already mentioned in the the preview of the tournament as well that I really don't want them to win just because I don't really like the coach because
yeah.
they like if you go on the Wikipedia page there is a whole thesis on the controversies around Diaker, their coach. So I know like if we Germany shouldn't take France lightly and France and vice versa, but I still feel that Germany will go into the final and
Yeah.
face England, in my opinion.
Oh, he's brought the jinx back at the last second. But fair enough. Yeah, I would kind of expect the same. I think that's what I would predict. Just going on the form, and I feel like, yeah, England seem to have their shit under control. Everything seems to be working for them so far. Knock on wood. But and Germany, France is like again, it's something that we can't really predict. But I feel like, yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna call it. I can't see too many goals going just from past history. I don't see too many goals in
Yeah.
the game. It'll be at KGFF no matter what. I'll be very surprised if either of the semifinals ends up being a one-sided affair. But on the other hand, I'm hoping that everything gets done by regulation time because, oh God, help us sleep schedule otherwise. And that too is midweek. It's not even over the weekend, so
Yeah.
it's going to be quite a hectic watch otherwise. But yeah, I guess that's about it for this particular episode. So thank you, Atanu and Yashodhan, for coming on here and giving on this quarterfinal, uh, this review, quarterfinal review or roundup. I can't wait to host you again soon. Hopefully, if not for the semifinals, then we can do once the tournament gets done. We'll do obviously do a review of the entire tournament with all of our panelists, and we'll look back at all of our predictions and see how everything was done. But until then, thank you once again, and I can't wait to host you again soon.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Praddy. It's been fun. And I'm really hoping we see an England Germany final just for the rivalry and at
Yeah,
Wembley.
yeah, yeah.
That's an
Of course.
iconic fixture. So I hope we get to see it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thanks for having
Oh,
Brady. I hope Yash is correct, but I don't want to jinx it. So I'll say Sweden versus France final.
awesome. All right. Great. All right. So, thank you to those of you who've been watching with us right now, or those of you who are going to watch later on. You can follow us on all of our social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram. Check out our. You'll obviously watch this live. I mean, you'll obviously find this on YouTube. I'll put out the audio podcast if a day or two later. I'll obviously post that on Twitter and on Instagram, so you can go check that out. Share with friends and family, and let us know if you want to be a part of the podcast as well. I guess that's about it for episode number 2 of this Women's Euro 2022 edition. I'm your host, Praddy, once again. You stay safe and see you.